The wind in Dry Creek carried the same hollow sound it had for months, whistling across dead grass and rattling, the shudder of the abandoned mill as if trying to remind the town of everything it had lost. Drought had a way of turning even strong people into ghosts of themselves. But for Maria Hayes, it had wiped out more than crops. It had stripped her pride, cored out her confidence, and driven her to the brink of choices she once believed she could never make. Her husband, Daniel, had died the winter before when pneumonia swept through the valley, and she had been left with 2 girls, who looked at her as if she still controlled the rising and setting of the sun. When the last jar of beans was scraped clean, when the chickens stopped laying, when the roof began to drip in 3 places, Maria realized hunger wasn't something that visited anymore. Hunger lived here now. It lived in her house. It slept beside her daughters. And on the morning she found the younger one, Lily, trying to chew a dried-out beet that should have been thrown out weeks ago, something inside her cracked with a quiet, aching sound. She wrapped the girls in their threadbare shawls and walked them to the market behind. The saloon, praying for something, anything. But the crates were filled only with apples soft with mold, spotted with rot, discarded by townsfolk who had the luxury of turning their noses up. Maria glanced around, her hands shaking, not with guilt, but with the fear of being caught. She didn't want to steal, but she could not let the girls fade like the fields. She tucked 3 of the least rotten apples beneath her shawl and told the girls to walk quickly, her heart pounding as if she were sprinting across a battlefield, not sneaking from a garbage crate. She whispered to them not to look back, that sometimes God delivered blessings in ugly packaging. But before they reached the church steps, a shadow fell across the dust in front of them, long and sharp like a cut in the earth. A man stood there, tall, broad, wearing a hat that had clearly seen storms, with a stance that suggested he had too, a cowboy. Not the polished, saloon-leaning type, but the kind whose boots spoke of long trails and long nights. "Ma'am," he said, voice steady as an oak beam. "You dropped something." Maria froze. Her breath stopped. One of the apples, bruised and leaking brown juice, had rolled from beneath her shawl and landed near his boot. She prepared herself for the lecture, the judgment, the humiliation. Dry Creek never ran out of those. But when she met his eyes, there wasn't a hint of accusation there, only a quiet knowing. He knelt, picked up the apple gently, as if it were something sacred, then looked over Maria's shoulder, at the girls whose thin arms wrapped around each other for warmth. "How long's it been since they ate proper?" he asked. The soft way he spoke, the question felt worse than yelling. Maria opened her mouth, but no words came. Her pride jammed her throat. "We're fine," she lied, barely audible. But the cowboy shook his head in a slow, deliberate motion that told her he didn't buy it for a second. "No," he said quietly. "You're not." He stood, dusted the dirt from the apple, then did something Maria did not expect at all. He held it out to Lily, not to her. The little girl blinked up at him, unsure. "Go on," he said. "Ain't no child in this town gonna starve while I'm around." Something in his voice made the promise sound larger than the moment, like it extended far beyond this single apple. Maria reached out, intending to stop Lily from taking it. She didn't want charity, she couldn't repay, but the cowboy raised one hand gently. "Ma'am," he said, looking her dead in the eyes, "this ain't pity. This is a man looking at a problem and deciding it ends today." Tears burned at the corners of her vision. No one had spoken to her like that in months. Most folks acted like starvation was a stain, like those who suffered had somehow chosen it. But this man, this stranger, saw them. Before she could speak, he stepped aside, motioning toward his horse tied near the post office. "Name's Colt Maddox," he said. "And if you'll allow it, I'd like to feed your girls something that ain't fermenting." Maria hesitated. Every instinct,